Welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today we are not making soap. We're not even going to make a bath and body product or a candle. Today we are going to make Play-Doh. I love Play-Doh. I loved making it when my children were young and growing up. We even played with it as young adults when I had late teens to early 20-year-olds. And we made a big batch of Play-Doh and had like a Play-Doh creation competition, which was really fun. And I can't remember who actually won that. But I think Play-Doh is great for all ages. We are going to be doing a cooked version and a no-cook version. And then I'm going to test them for you and tell you what I think about the consistency, if I notice any difference between the cooked and the not cooked, and all of that. We're going to test them both out and see. And I'm going to do a price comparison with the name brand Play-Doh compared to a homemade version, which I actually think is better. I think the texture of the homemade is better. So that is super cool to save a lot of money and get a better product. And I will talk about how if I was going to bring this to a farmer's market or market this in my store, which you can do, we'll talk about how I would jar it and label it. And you do need to be careful with the original Play-Doh name is a trademarked name, so you cannot use that. I think it's spelled with a D-O-H. You can't use that. So you have to come up with like Fun Clay or, Play-Doh spelt differently. But so just be aware of that. If you were going to market this product, please don't step on anybody's toes. You've got to be careful with trademarks and names and things like that. All that being said, I need to gather the ingredients. This is so simple to make, you guys. If you have children, if you have grandchildren, if you have neighbor kids, just give it a whirl. It's so easy to make, and it's so good and fun and, everything that Play-Doh is. Also, one of the neat things about homemade Play-Doh is you know exactly what's in there. Your kids are playing with it. Little kids are tempted to. This, what we're making today is actually edible. I wouldn't suggest eating it at all, but you could. It's not going to harm them if you use a good natural food dye for the colorant, which we will use, and the ingredients are wholesome. You could put a few drops of essential oil in there. I've seen some moms do that. They'll give their kids lavender scented Play-Doh, and lavender is very relaxing. So I think that's kind of cool. But so many options, and I love a homemade product because you know exactly what's in it, and it's made with love. So all that's good. So let me get all the ingredients pulled together, and we are going to come back and make a cooked and a no-cook version Play-Doh and do a cost comparison, all the stuff. And I did want to mention next week, we're going to be coming back and making homemade slime. And there are some recipes out there. We're going to make a version with borax and a version with no borax. And that depends on, your preference for making, but we'll do both kinds. So next week is slime. This week is Play-Doh. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do hit that so you don't miss anything going on in the studio. And we are back. We're going to do the cooked version of the Play-Doh first. I've got some gloves off to the side here because when it comes time to mix in my food coloring, I don't want my hands to get stained. So gloves off to the side. Here are all the ingredients. Let's talk about each one in just a second. But here I will do a slower screenshot. Here's my little price comparison. I looked up on both Amazon and Walmart. Walmart's Play-Doh was cheaper. The cheapest single jar I found was 54 cents for a 3-ounce jar. And then they had a big mega pack of 8 jars, 4-ounce jars. And those broke down to 75 cents each. So that's what the retail is. And over here, this is my ingredients that I had to buy at the store and how much each ingredient cost per ounce, and then how many ounces I needed. All that being said, for making this cooked method, it's going to be 18 cents a jar, a 3-ounce jar, if I jarred them in 3 ounces. But again, I'll show a slower screenshot so you can look at the numbers more in detail. Jarring these in 8-ounce jars. So I'm going to pack these up because these are for my grandbabies. So I want them to have a nice full-size jar. So if you want to do little 4 or 3-ounce jars, those would be perfect too. But just so you know, I'm only going to get 4 jars because I'm using bigger jars. So there is that. Let's talk about the simple ingredients here. First of all, water. It's free. I didn't have to factor that into the cost. I hope you have water for free where you're at. And the next ingredient is oil. You can use any oil. You could use a really high-end oil, olive oil, almond oil. I used, because I'm doing this for price comparisons, super cheapo vegetable oil from Walmart. So that's my oil. Then my next ingredient is a flour. And you could use a pastry flour for a really smooth finish, but again, for price, I just bought the generic old flour here. So there's that. Oh, I'm not giving you measurements. It's all going to be written down in the description box. I need 1/2 ounce or 14 grams of oil. What did I say? Water. I need 8 ounces or 227 grams of water. And flour, I need 8 ounces or 227 grams of flour. So that's where I'm at. Next ingredient is salt. I need 4 ounces or 113 grams of salt. Again, I went with the plain Jane, cheapest version I could find of salt. And then the last ingredient is cream of tartar. And if you don't have cream of tartar, I think cornstarch or even kale and clay would work, or you could increase your flour, but this does add a nice smooth doughy feel to the dough. So I like cream of tartar. I got this from Amazon, and the reason I didn't buy it at the grocery store is because I have so much at home and I didn't want to buy again, but it's very inexpensive in the baking and spice section of a grocery store. And I have 1/2 ounce or 14 grams of cream of tartar. And this, and this is it to make the dough. And then after, if you want to color it, optional. If you want to scent it, optional. So I didn't factor my colorants into my total price there. And you might say, well, that throws off the end price. Kind of, but not really. So this little pack of colorants was about $3.50 at Walmart, but you only need 5 drops of each one. And this size jar, you could make hundreds of batches. So I'm saying 5 drops out of here is pennies. So it might affect your bottom line price by maybe 2 cents. So that's why I didn't add this in. Plus, you might not be adding the same colorants I am. You might not add any colorants. If you wanted to color this with herbs or micas, that's something you can explore too. But the food coloring, you know, that was a factor that I left out of the total price. So just for full disclosure. Now we're doing the cook method first because I want this to be cooling while we come in and make the no cook method. I thought that kind of went in order. So the first thing I want to do is pull my little hot plate over. This little single burner hot plate has been featured in my studio several times. I love it. It's a little workhorse. And a nice saucepan that is big enough to hold your ingredients. If you're doubling or tripling this recipe, you know, make sure your saucepan is the right size. So before I turn this on, I'm going to go ahead and mix all of our dry ingredients. Let me see if I can pull this over a little better. Let's mix all our dry ingredients in here before we get to the wet ingredients and talk about the cook. So in goes our flour and our salt, cream of tartar. There we go. And let's just give it a little mix around so that everything's blended well. And then after we add our wet ingredients, which is the oil and the water, I'm going to turn this on to kind of a medium to medium high. And you're looking for this to heat up and start pulling away from the sides. So it's starting to kind of coagulate and come together. It takes about 3 minutes once this burner gets up to temperature, about 3 minutes. And then you take it off and start kneading it for smoothness. And we'll talk about that when we get there. There we go. I just wanted to make sure all the salt and cream of tartar were dispersed well. Make a little hole in the middle here and turn my burner on. Let's see, there we go. And let's add our vegetable oil. Also, if you are making lots of this and you're going to make one color at a time, much easier. You don't need your gloves on. You could just add your food colorant right now. So that's something to think about. And then our water. There we go. And now we're going to just start mixing and cooking. This is the method I did when my kids were growing up. I always made the cooked method just because I got the recipe from a preschool teacher and she said it was her workhorse Play-Doh recipe. She made it by the bucket loads. So I'm like, well, if she knows what she's talking about, I'm going to do what she does. So you can see how it's just kind of liquidy and sticky. as this cooks, it'll start pulling away from the side walls just a little and coming together in one lump. And that's what we're looking for. And don't worry if it's a little clumpy, that's what we're going to knead in the colors and smooth it out after the cooking. And that is usually when I would have my children come and help me. I would do the cooking part, they would help me measure the ingredients, I would cook it, and then plop the big ball out on the counter and split it up, and they could knead it until it was smooth. That's how I got my kids involved with this. I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of pulling away from the bottom of the pan. So it's starting to cook on the bottom, which is awesome. Yep, it's starting to get lumpy again, which is good. Some of the parts of it are cooking. And so you just kind of want to flip it over and get the uncooked parts on the warm part of the saucepan. There we go. It's starting to lump up now. That's looking just about perfect. So let me turn this off. And yep, it's looking great. If you take it out too soon, it's just going to be really sticky to knead. And you can always pop it back in the saucepan, but you can see how it's just clinging together and coming off the pan. So it's going to cool off fast on my surface here. It's very cold in my studio, my tabletop. Try to get it all out here. There we go. And now I've got to split this into 4 parts. Cut it in half. There we go. And it's a little lumpy at this point. Don't worry, that's all going to get blended once we get mixing our colors in. So I make my 4 little dough balls and I make a little dot so that the colorants go down in. So let's start with the blue. And again, we just want maybe 3 to 5 drops. Let's do 3. So again, you can see how the colorants are going to last a very long time. It's hard to factor something you're using such a minuscule amount. That came out kind of fast. There we go. Just take this one because it's closest to me, and you can see why having the gloves on is going to be important here in just a minute. Because, yeah, you don't want that on your skin, concentrated like that. Once it's blended in, no problem at all. It doesn't transfer. It's pretty good. And this is where helping hands would be nice, because I have all these to knead and get your kids over. It's totally cool. It's not hot to the touch at this point. So you little hands can knead this, and just tell them to keep kneading until all the color is spread around. So you can see how if you were going to make one color at a time, it would be easier to blend it in the pot. All right, so 3 drops is a little light, kind of a salmon color, not really red, but let's just let that ride for a second and do the rest. You can always add a little more color if you want to. All right, here is the cooked version. I'm going to put these in the jars to keep them moist so they don't dry out. And then we will get to the no-cook version. So I like to make them in little tubes, kind of like the real Play-Doh. And put it in there and put the lid on. All right, we are back for the no-cook method, and it's kind of the same drill where we're going to add our dry ingredients in here and then add the water or the liquid ingredients next. And the no-cook part needs boiling water, so I'm going to pop this in the microwave. You can boil this in a saucepan and then measure it in your cup or on your scale, but we need, let's go back, I've got to reference my recipe off to the side, 8 ounces or 227 grams of boiling water. So I'll set that off to the side. And the other liquid ingredient is a 1/2 ounce or 14 grams of oil. Same oil I'm using. I'm using all the same ingredients. Okay, for our dry ingredients, I need 10 ounces or 283 grams of flour. The ratios are just a little different, but these are so similar. And then salt, I need 4 ounces or 113 grams of salt. And cream of tartar, a little bit more. We need 1 ounce or 28 grams of cream of tartar. And that's our dry ingredients. So let me go get that water boiling and we will come back when it's time to mix it all together. All right, my water is boiling, or it was when I pulled it out a second ago. So let's go ahead and add our liquid ingredients. There goes our oil. And again, you can use fancy schmancy ingredients if you want. It's totally up to you. And here goes our almost boiling water. And then you want to get to stirring and get this clump together. And again, we're going to pour it out on the tabletop and start kneading it with our hands like you're making a bread dough. And then we'll add our colors. Kind of the same drill, really. Now, if your mixture is too wet or too dry, you can add a little more oil if it's too dry. Or a little more flour or cream of tartar if it's too wet. So you can play around with it. It's kind of like making a bath bomb, you know. If you, I don't know, have a dry area or something, you might need to massage the ingredients a little. So it's starting to clump up. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little knead in here. This is warm because of the boiling water, but it's not hot. But I would probably let this cool just a touch before I had my little people come in with their hands right now. This is very warm on my hands. Just trying to pick up all the crumblies on the bottom here. There we go. It's all clinging together, so let's pop it out. See? There it is. Feels wonderful. And let me get it in my ball so I can split it up. Actually, let me knead this to get it a little bit smoother. There we go. And now, see, it's plenty cool enough. I would let little people come in now. It cools off so fast. So again, you can make little 4 or 3 ounce jars, or you can do the big jars like I'm doing. Totally up to you. Let's poke a hole for our colors. And I think I'm going to go a little more. I'm going to do 5 drops of the colors. I want a little more pigment, especially in that red. My cooked one looks pink. So I have found that the folding method here, kind of like bread dough, gets the color mixed a little easier for me. That's what I'm finding. If you have a method that works good for you, please leave a comment, let us know. But I think this is getting it more evenly distributed. All right, so the 5 drops is definitely a little more vibrant color. Gorgeous. So I'm noticing the red is kind of hard to get a vibrant color. This is still, to me, more of a salmon color, but less pink than the other, but it's still beautiful. there they are, the no cook. I have to tell you, after kneading the color in, I'm liking the texture of this one better. I think next time I make the cook method, I'm going to add a little more oil. These just feel a little softer, but we'll go ahead and take the other one out here and do a texture test with them both, but I'm loving it. All right, we are back. This is the cooked, this is the uncooked, and let me grab a color. Let's do the greens. Here we go. This is, again, cooked. I'm going to keep the cooked one on one side and the uncooked on the other. And the uncooked, but it had boiling water, so I guess you could say it was kind of cooked. Now the color's a little more vibrant because this is 3 drops of food color. This is 5, so this is more limey color. And let me see. So when I press my finger in, this one is cracking. I really do recommend a little bit more oil. Let's see, we used ½ an ounce of oil on the cook. I would even go up to a full ounce of oil just to make it a little smoother. Right now, I think this one feels smoother to me. So let me see here. Yeah, this one splits. It's wonderful. It's pliable. I would put this one, this is the cooked, head to head with a regular Play-Doh version. I think it's fabulous. It's, you know, let's see if we can make like a little snake with it. That's what my grandkids like to do. They just make snakes, and then we roll them into cinnamon rolls and stuff. So it rolls, it's not cracking, you can play with it. This one just feels a little more soft to me. It's clinging and it's not cracking. Let's see if we can make a snake here. Both of these are excellent though. I love them both. But again, I think in the written recipe, I will write my recommendation to increase the oil in that just a touch. Yeah, they both feel good. This one's a little stiffer, this one's a little wigglier, you can see, but excellent, both of these. Now I'm gonna go print some labels and we'll talk about how you might wanna market this. All right, we are back with some labels I printed. I went back and forth if I want to do round ones or big ones. I'm just using my soap labels that I normally use. It just has my name on here and what this is. This is homemade Play-Doh. Now, if I was going to sell this, you want to put the ingredients and the ounces or grams, how much it weighs, and more details. But these are gifts for my grandkids, so I printed out a very simple label. If you were just giving these away in a goodie basket or to friends and neighbors, you don't need the fancy stuff. But if you're marketing, have your ingredients and the weight of your product on there. Another cute thing I saw, let me talk while I label, is you could put, like, if you bought generic Lego type pieces, you could put some Lego pieces in here, or a dinosaur, or a little animal figure, something in there so it's like a little gift and the Play-Doh to play with it with. I've seen people get so creative with their homemade Play-Dohs, and I love it. So you can really make these as special as you want. In fact, I might go out and get like a little pack of plastic dinosaurs and stuff a dinosaur in each one of these when I give it to the grandkids. But I just think these are adorable. And yeah, I'm loving everything about this. I know my grandkids will love it too, and I hope you give it a try. If you've made the cook or the no cook version or a different version, please comment down below so we can all learn from you. If you are an experienced Play-Doh maker, I would love to hear your feedback. And I'm surprised, my cooked method that I used with my kids growing up, actually prefer this one better, a little bit. Very close, but you know how it goes. So I'm just gonna label these up and get these out to my grandkids. I'm going to have all of my grandbabies in one place in 2 weeks. We rented a big house on the beach, and that is a rare occurrence to have all of my children and all of my grandchildren in one place, and I'm so looking forward to it. So that's what I'm making these for. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.